Oh my God, I miss you, dude. It's been a while.
It's been way too long.
It has been a
Way
minute.
too
We've been busy. We're elders are busy too, you know.
long. Elders are busy and sometimes get too busy.
That's the hey youngins, the myth of retirement is you're never retired.
Yeah, my newest line is I've been working on retirement for a while and it's not going so well.
My definition of retirement, because you're 72 now.
Hmm.
I'm 69. Theoretically should have retired a while back. And my definition of retirement is not having to return email.
Ooh, I love
Mhm.
that.
Yeah. This is Dewey Freeman. I'm Mark Sylvester. We're the Elder Council. And I was explaining to someone over this past week what that meant. And it was that we exist in a dimension where time travel is a reality. And we're able to go back and tap our 25, 35, 45-year-old selves on the shoulder and whisper in our ears. The only problem is we don't listen.
Well, I wish I would have listened a few years ago. That would have been good.
So today, I ran across there's a cartoonist I follow of all things. His name is Hugh. He goes under the nom de plume Gaping Void, which is fun. Been following him for about 15, 16 years. He does cartoons that are extremely poignant. And this week it hit me and I saved it because I thought I would read it to you and then we would chat about it.
Mm, that sounds
Ready?
wonderful.
You ready?
Yes. And
Being
is it
Yes,
possible to do a screen share or is that not possible on the
I can
cartoon?
do a screen share for just a New York minute, sure. Being comfortable with being in a place of not knowing where you're going.
Mm, whoa. Talk about life, huh?
What's your first thing that hits you?
Ah, well, the first thing that comes to mind is when you were talking about whispering in our ears and time traveling. And I apologize to the audience. I have majorly bad allergies this morning. Um, but you're talking about time traveling, and um, there was a time where I actually thought I knew where I was going. And
Oh, foolish mortal.
foolish more. That's exactly. And it's like I don't know where I'm going, and I am in not only becoming more comfortable with it, but I'm actually inviting it. Um, I spent the last 2 weeks at an Aikido and horsemanship clinic with Mark Ration, and I had no idea where that was going. It turned out well, but I had no idea where that was going. And I also, the other flash I went through is Boyd Vardy. Do you know who Boyd Vardy is?
You've mentioned his name a few times.
He is South African and has written a book called The Lion Tracker's Guide to Life, I think is the name
That's
of the
right.
book.
That's right.
And his saying is, I don't know where I'm going, but I know how to get there.
Hmm.
Um, so again, just this is all just stream of thought. Is my waking moment this morning was about going, oh, I need to take a look at where I'm going here. I need it. It's like, and I need and want to shift a few things on where I'm going. So,
So in fact,
Yes.
I believe there's this basic conundrum that this this topic brings up. I am a planner. I'm a producer. I mean, that's my job. I am a producer.
Which
And
you
I
do quite
well,
well, by the way.
thank you. And I plan the fuck out of everything to the most minute detail. In fact, I think I'm scared. I have a client, and I was visiting them on Thursday, and I said, you know, I don't want to get us too in the weeds here, but you know, I saw myself standing in the precipice of a rabbit hole, and I decided to dive in. And they both looked at each other and went, "You in a rabbit hole? I have no idea what you're talking about."
Ah,
Right? It's my as a systems thinker, I think from big to small and then from
mhm,
small to big, right? So I can see the whole thing, and that is good news and bad news, right? And part of that is having a plan is like, this is where I'm going. I have intentions. We live intentionally. I'm not just bouncing through space. Yet this purports there's a dimension you live in where you don't know where you're going. And I don't feel it's like you're ambling. It's like, hey, I I wrap the word adventure around it. Like I don't know what's going to happen, but to Boyd's point, I know how to get there. It's like
right.
improv, stepping into a cold scene just on a cold stage. I don't know what's going to happen. I've intentionally put myself there
Mhm.
to not know what's going to happen, because the fun is when my scene partner goes and says, "Well, you finally got here."
And
And
then you're going,
now I'm here. I know I'm
"Now what?"
someplace. I know I'm someplace. And so that happens. So how do we square, and I'll finish my monologue here quick. How do we square this idea of intentionality and being on point and goal-driven humans and all of that with this other idea of not being comfortable not knowing where you're going?
Mhm. One of the possibilities that I think happens is that the whole idea of being goal driven actually many times keeps us from knowing where we're going or allowing
Oh,
ourselves
tell
to
me more about
explore.
that. Come on.
Well, if we set a goal and we're goal driven, whatever that particularly means, is many times what that creates is a process of not seeing what's going on along the way. Um, and it also doesn't allow us to, if our goal, if I'm thinking way out there, whether it be a week, a month, or 6 months, what that does is it stops us many times in many ways of living in a moment, and we miss stuff.
Okay, stay with that. Um, I'm all about the journey. I know that we're going to be going on this trip at some date in the future, and the journey of anticipation and packing and planning and being excited and all of that stuff is part of the journey of getting to it.
Hmm.
So I love the journey. I love, to your point of when I am going someplace, being and looking around and giving yourself permission for little side trips along that path. Take that large to I've got a life goal, you know, that I've set myself a 6 month goal or a 12-month goal. You want to stay on the journey, but there's going to be little things that may pull you out here. Now, the challenge is if you're easily distracted. Ooh, look, and now I'm over
Hmm.
here. I kind of forget this. So I think there's a middle ground we look for, and maybe that's just me being a middler. there's,
Hmm.
it could be that. What do you think?
Well, say it again. Are you talking about getting distracted
So,
along
well,
the
there's two
way?
different things. So to your point, if I'm so focused on a goal,
Hmm.
I'm laser. I'm gonna hit that goal. And your point was I may miss things outside of my peripheral view. I'm so focused. I'm to the point of being myopic, right?
Right.
Right. Where if I'm the spin that around and I'm so distracted by all the stuff that's going
Ah,
around,
ah.
I don't ever
You
get
lose
to the
your
goal,
focus.
right? So I think there's this one wide angle view where I see everything and I'm paying attention to everything and everything's affecting me. I almost can't move forward because whoa, I'm this versus
Hmm.
pull that camera lens down to its myopic, meaning I can only see the one thing, but I do get to the goal. So what I'm hearing is find a way, find a middle ground there that I can see all these things, but I'm not distracted to the point of not hitting the goal. I got it out.
Well, what you're talking about is really interesting because societally, we there's a lot that goes on in our society where the term ADD or ADHD is sort of commonplace. Someone will go, "Oh, well, I have trouble getting this done, or I have trouble getting that done," and they go, "Oh, well, I must be ADD." And what is interesting about that, and what's interesting about ADD, or some people now it's going to get technical about it, it's called ADHD, is that people think that it's called an attention deficit disorder. That's what ADD stands for. But that's not really what's going on. What's really going on is that somebody who truly has ADD is picking up so many cues from the environment that they don't know how to filter it out. Like I'm talking to you right now, there's a light above my head, there's a beautiful mountain to the one side, there's a gigantic meadow to the other, there's all kinds of stuff around my house, there are all those things. So when we just have a goal and don't see anything else, we're not allowing ourselves to filter anything out because we're blocking everything out. If we are scattered all over the place, we're also not allowing ourselves to filter anything out because we're taking it all in or trying to respond to all of them. So the process of having a goal with awareness of what's going on around us, with the process of filtering out what fits and what doesn't, to me is that's the quote middle ground that you're talking about. But it actually, I think, is a very high level skill and a very sophisticated skill to be able to softly hold a goal while watching, holding other pieces of information and going, well, this piece is like really good. And this piece is like, eh. And one of the things, can I continue here for a moment?
Keep going, Doc. You're on it.
Is there's certain kinds of music that it's just all so loud. And so and there's a bunch of different instruments in it, but it's the purpose of it seems of certain kinds of music is just to make noise. And there's no way to go, oh, well, that's a string instrument, or oh, that's a piano, or oh, those are the percussion instruments, or which is a very different process that over on this end is an orchestra of sorts, or even a, smaller band, but it's so clean and so clear what's coming out and what instrument is playing and how they're supporting each other. And it's like, which one do we want to be? Do we want just all of this noise? Or do we want to hear music and be part of music that you can actually hear the different instruments and the vocals behind it? And sometimes, there's a solo in there, which might be that goal of going just kaboom. I need to get here. um, I don't know if that makes any sense. That was
But
just
I immediately, because I'm a chef, immediately went to a well-crafted sauce where
yes,
I'm like, "Oh, is that tarragon? Is that" like, yeah, all the flavors are playing well together, as opposed to a
yes.
white belt move who says, "Oh, yeah, I gotta put a bunch of tarragon in there." And, like, that's one of the things you never put too much of, by the way, side note, and, it's the word discordant came up when you were
Mm,
describing that, right? It's anything how and so to move this whole idea forward, I think you nailed it when you said it. It's an advanced capability, which is kind of the whole goal of our show is how do we talk about these advanced tips to our younger self to be able to use them because they're once you hear it and you're aware, you go, oh, that's a thing. Yeah, that's a thing, dude. Put that one in your back pocket and pull it out. And it's
hmm.
this notion of filtering out that filtering it down to where I love your line to have softly holding a goal. So what I'm thinking of is our filter system needs to be able to filter out that which is not serving us achieving the goal.
And yes, absolutely. And making choice about sometimes going, well, I'm sort of going to enjoy this. This isn't particularly going to help me get to my goal, but this particular sauce is really good. So I'm going to stop
And
and
so I'm
enjoy it.
going to so staying with that, I'm making a conscious decision to allow myself to be distracted for something that serves my overall well-being. Like it would be
Yes.
really good for us to stop and on our journey. Yes, I know we need to set camp before dark. We have time. I've heard of a little cafe that's only 10 miles off the track. Let's go to that little cafe and nourish ourselves emotionally, spiritually, physically, and we're going to have a nice memory as a result of it. Is that
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. That, or like in this clinic that I was in, we would spend the morning would be, at least most mornings would be from 9 to noon in the dojo working with Aikido and Aikido principles and blending and softness and structure. And then, it's like then you could be gung ho and go get on your horse, or you could actually stop and have lunch and nurture yourself and slow down and plan and then go get on your horse. And boy, wow, this just hit me. So, speaking of getting on our horse, one of the things that you and I spoke about um, while I was at this clinic was that I was restarting my horse. And part of what has happened is I've actually let a lot of different people ride this particular horse. His name is Dylan. Is that he has gotten so many different messages
Mm,
that he was basically confused. And
mm,
what happened was he would um, he sort of got himself stuck and
mm,
was bracing, going, "What a, that you know." And it was like I literally had to get under that brace
mm.
and restart him because there was so much
How long have
information.
you had him?
Actually, 15 or 16 years.
That's what I thought.
And what was interesting is I rode him a lot and did a lot with him, and I was his primary rider for probably the first 9 of those. And then he was getting older, and I ended up getting Moon Dash, and I put a lot of energy into Moon Dash. But Dylan is a very solid horse, very physically strong, and so he was able to handle a lot of different people, and also some fairly big people, because a lot of horses, if I have a small horse, I can't put a 230-pound man on them. But part of what happened is he got so many different messages that he ended up racing and just going like, what? And so essentially what that did with me having to restart him was actually there's so many distractions out here, metaphorically, that he got himself stuck.
Mm.
And then riders would get on him and they would be stuck too, unless they knew what they were doing. So I was restarting him and we ended up doing really well. Um, but this whole piece of either too much coming in and not being able to filter stuff out, which is sort of what was happening with him, or only having one goal of you got to get from here to there, neither of those seem to be that productive. And I do think that both of those things can create what I could call a brace in us. If it's like, by God, I'm the only thing I'm going to do is go from here to there. We're cutting everything else out of our lives. We're not letting nurturing come in. We're not letting support come in. We're not doing those things. At the same time, if it's all scattered all over, interestingly enough, that creates braces too.
So with that in mind, there's always going to be exceptions to all of that, right?
Totally.
Of course. I mean, I'm thinking of my bride, who was a NCAA All-American softball pitcher, highly recruited, and she can focus like no one I've ever met in my life, because when there are 10,000 screaming people in the stands, her job is to strike out the batter. Her
Right.
job is to get the ball 60 feet away into a little target that's this big, and to get
Hmm.
it there in as an obscure a way as possible
Right.
to confuse the batter, right? That was her
Totally.
job. And she talks about how it took a long time to learn how to shut all of that stuff out. So her
Hmm.
filtering system is so good, she could turn all of that off. So when she is in a flow state working now, I can walk in and peek in the office and can tell, and I just back out, because
Hmm.
it feels like it takes so long to get to where you're there that you can get derailed quickly, and it takes you. I found this with programmers my whole life. We just stay away, let them be quiet. They're in the zone, right? Going towards that thing. Back to the original sentence, being comfortable with being in a place of not knowing where you're going is a little different now. So we've
Hmm.
explored this knowing where you're going, then not knowing where you're going. To me, I think I look at adventure that way. I look forward to it. It's
Totally.
like, oh man, I don't, we're here. Who knows what we're gonna see? How exciting is that? And being comfortable, which when I first read this, made me think of the word trust.
That's exactly where I was going. Please keep going, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's our show. Uh, it yeah, it's trusting you're okay, trusting
Mhm,
you're safe, right? We've talked about this
mhm,
before. Like, my initial turn on my sensors, is the world okay? Yep, nothing's on fire. Am I okay? Yep, I'm up, I'm breathing. Okay, what's today going to bring? Today, and we actually in our house have this point of view that anything can be turned into an adventure,
mhm,
right? So there's just a point of adventure as a point of view in my mind, right? It's like, oh, let's make this thing an adventure. And I think that's because what I'm doing is I'm opening up the aperture,
mhm,
going back to our focus, unfocus, opening up the aperture to let a little more light, a little more stimulus in, to say, and knowing that it's fine if I'm, I go on a little side trip, I'm a little distracted. Like, that's the point of all of this. And that I'm comfortable with the amount of stim I'm letting in and can stay with this.
mhm,
So I'm adjusting, you can see me metaphorically
mhm,
adjusting that stim to the point to where, okay, that's good. Here would be an example for those of you who know about Burning Man. I've never been, but I follow Burning Man. I think had Burning Man been around 40 years ago, I would have been a burner. But I could see that one is with the apertures are completely wide open
totally.
for a week, right? And you're have no idea what the fuck is happening, but I'm super comfortable with that. And I'm gonna guess, and I don't know, I hate making stereotypes, I'm gonna make one. I'm gonna guess that most people are not comfortable when they don't know what's going on or know where they're at. Is that fair?
That is more than fair. So let's ask the audience. I mean, obviously, right now we're not going to get feedback, but when this goes up, uh, let's ask the nation, the men in the nation, when they watch this, to give feedback on, you know, if they don't know where they're going, they don't know what's happening. Do they have? Are they okay? So, and circling back to your word trust, what in your mind when you go, okay, this is about trust, what in your mind do you trust of what and trust of who or whom?
Uh Back to Boyd's quote. I don't know where I'm going, but I know how to get there, or
Hmm. Yeah.
right. I kind of have the tools, so I have the emotional tools, the physical tools to deal with whatever is going to go on. Uh I think we've talked about risk. We've done shows on risk. I think I'm a really good risk mitigator. And so I'm going to understand the risks. Like, it's,
Hmm.
going to a place where I not know where I'm going. If I'm in a corn maze or I'm in a haunted house, I know I'm going to be scared. So, okay,
Right.
I know I'm going to experience a sense of being lost. That's okay, because I know there's someone who's up on a higher pole who's looking and making sure. So it's like, enjoy being lost, because that's a feeling that normally is terrifying. But if you feel I'm in a safe enough environment, I can enjoy being lost. I can
Right.
enjoy being scared, right? I'm going to go to a thriller movie where there's going to be, I know I'm a Jordan Peele movie is going to scare me, and I love that adrenaline rush, and I'm going to be okay. Um, so I think that's one thing, but this trust is in a situation where I truly don't know.
Right.
I truly don't know. Then do I trust myself? In my particular case, I'm going to say, yeah, mostly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I I mean, I trust the universe to not let me get hurt or damaged. That's just a core belief for me. That's just,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that everyone has that, but I have a pretty good sense that someone's looking out after me. So,
Mm.
not going to let me, going to pull me back right at the end, going to let me get to the edge, see, oh, dude, you're at the edge. Oh, fuck. And as you and I know, just privately, I've had a few situations where I'm
Mm-hmm.
standing
Oh,
on the
totally.
edge, on the abyss, and you're like, okay, let's back up a little bit.
Well, I think there's something really important about one having a bigger belief system, which is what
Yeah.
you just spoke about.
Yeah.
And whatever that may be,
Yeah.
like, so when I'm saying that, I am not on any level saying what it should be. I'm just saying that I do think that as
That
humans,
it
we need that
exists.
and that
Yeah.
exists. We're such a minute part of the universe, and like, I mean, really the universe, not, I'm not saying that metaphorically, I'm saying that literally we are such a
That
minute.
remember the song "All We Are Is Dust in the Wind"?
Mm-hmm.
We're
Yeah.
smaller than that.
Yeah, we're not even that big. We're a speck, maybe. That, and at the same time, we bring a huge amount. It's sort of like, um, oh, there's a phrase that I'm not quite catching. It's like we're on one level, we're everything, on another level, we're nothing. Um, but can we allow ourselves to drop into a comfort zone of going, yeah, I belong here. I am here. I'm willing to live in the present, because being at that place of not knowing where you're going and being comfortable with that means you have to live in the present.
Mm-hmm.
And that I can trust the present, and I can trust myself to do what I need to do when I need to do it. And
I was having that exact same thought about not knowing. Oh, man, this is getting so meta right now, but
this is good.
not knowing is thinking about something that's going to happen in the future,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's going to happen in the future. That, dude, that doesn't matter. You're missing the point. The point is the present.
Yes.
And I know about the present because I'm right here,
Yes.
and I'm, taking a deep breath, and I'm relaxing into it, and I know exactly where I am. So possibly there is no idea of not knowing.
If we look at it that way, that is 100% true. Yes.
And that concludes our philosophy 402 lesson for the day. That it's about, there is no not knowing.
Yeah. Say it again. And that
It
really may be where we end, because what you're saying is true.
that knowing there's knowing where you're going is living in a future state. Where am I going? Going is in the future. It's where am I going? It as opposed to I'm just existing in the present and fully present, which is fucking hard to do. And well, I'll admit it is. Sitting in the dentist chair yesterday, and she's giving me the Novocaine shots. And it's the first time anyone's ever said, for this to work, you need to consciously slow your heart rate. And I looked at her and went, oh, I know how to do that. She goes, what? I said, yeah, I'm going to meditate. But I'm going to become very present right now, and I'm going to focus on my breathing, and that's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to be, and I used my watch to see if I could actually do that. And she'd never had anybody who actually reacted that way. And it turned out it was like,
Totally.
just did that. So there is no not knowing, because not knowing is existing in a future state. That's super fucking esoterical, and I get that, but that's kind of what we're talking about getting to, is reminding ourselves to be right here in the present at all times. Right, boss?
Totally. 100%. And we don't really have the choice. We only pretend like we have the choice.
Oh my gosh, I love you, my friend. I can't wait till we talk again.
Thank you so very much. I love you very much. And this was